Hi, my name is Greg Keene. I want to welcome you to Toasted Soul. Toasted Soul is a podcast hosted by me, Greg Keene. Toasted Soul will be exploring technology news, business news, and just general rants on life. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome back to Toasted Soul. Today I have with me Imani Murrell. And Imani, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Hi there, I am Imani Murrell. I'm a marketing consultant. I met Greg years ago at York University. I actually met Greg years ago when Toasted Soul was just a baby idea in his brain. So I'm really excited and interested to see how it's morphed and changed over the years, and happy to be here on the podcast today.
So yeah, we met a long time ago, and the original Toasted Soul was back in 2007. We had like a website launch party and everything. There was a whole team back then. Imani was part of that. So what have you been up to?
Ha! Well, I guess that was York. So I guess I left there. I was doing journalism for a bit and was working for a long while. I've been traveling, and I guess this year I'm just home, Yeah. I'm at the house. That's the Coles Notes version. That is a short version of what I've been doing, working, traveling. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, everybody's home. No one can travel, which kind of sucks. Like, what kind of journalism were you doing?
I studied broadcast journalism at Seneca at York. And I guess for a long while, it actually has come up a couple of times in the last week, like seeing people doing stuff and being like, oh my God, I used to know them when. But I was I did my co-op or my internship at the original Flow. So Flow back in the day when it was like Black music station. I interned there. I volunteered and interned at various events and programs around the city, but I also graduated at a bad time. So it was like the beginning of that recession, or like in that era of that first 2008 recession. Yeah. So it was hard to get a job in that. And that was actually how I ended up in marketing, because it was easier to get a job that was like an actual job that paid actual money, as opposed to a lot of the journalism jobs were like, yeah, you can come and we'll give you experience, or you can come and we'll pay you in swag. Marketing jobs were kind of like, we'll come and we'll pay you in money. So that's kind of how I ended up in marketing.
So marketing, I remember the last time we actually saw each other, you're in marketing and you're doing something around my area, around Yonge and Eglinton area.
Yeah, I was working at Canadian Tire. So the head office is right there at Yonge and Eglinton. And I was on the digital team, on the mobile marketing team. And so basically everything having to do with the mobile experience. So mobile website, mobile apps, mobile kiosks. I was on the team that kind of ran that. And so that was what I did for about 5 years. And it was actually really cool, really good experience. I mean, Canadian Tire is like a huge company, very much an institution in the Canadian culture, I guess. So It's like a really big company, really good opportunity.
It is truly Canadian culture. Like I have Canadian Tire money here in my car, like all over the place.
Yeah.
It's it's an interesting thing to have Canadian Tire money. So yeah, digital marketing and mobile on like specifically mobile, that's kind of cool. I mean, like that's the wave. Anytime I look at anybody's analytics, you look at like desktop and you look at tablets, like the top one is always mobile. So definitely an industry and like a sector to be in if you are looking to make tons of money.
Yeah. Or if you're just looking to be where people are. I mean, that's the main thing right now, is that's where everyone's attention is. I got in kind of when the big talk at that time was the year of marketing or the year of mobile. And that was like kind of like every year was the year of mobile. This is going to be the year of mobile. So I don't know when it crested, but now it's like mobile everything, mobile first, digital first. And so, yeah. And then now you kind of see where it's like, where you're stuck in the house or you're remote, and how digital is like literally everything.
Are you still in mobile, like marketing or something?
Not mobile specifically. I help people with digital marketing, social media marketing, that sort of thing.
That's what you're doing right now, is digital marketing for like what do you
small businesses?
Yeah.
For small businesses. So I help basically, if you're overwhelmed, if you are feeling like you don't know how to manage the transition from like bricks and mortar or more traditional marketing to digital marketing, I help business owners with that.
So do you like say I was a small business owner and I decide like, oh, it's a good idea to get in on Instagram or on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
How do you come in? Like, how do you help me?
I would set up a time to discuss your goals and kind of figure out what would make the most sense for your business. So yeah, that's basically what I do. I consult and I have conversations with small business owners about how they want to appear online. And then we kind of make that happen. Yeah.
Okay. So do you then after, if I'm like, yeah, let's go with that, then do you like basically do it all for me? Or is it just like, you're just telling me how to do it, putting me in contact with people?
Either or. So I've had engagements where I have kind of done the strategy and then kind of handed it off. Because a lot of times, especially for something like Instagram, it's very personal. And if people want to have that thing that sounds exactly like them, a lot of times they will manage their own accounts. But I also work with a team of people who are able to manage that stuff for you as well. So it just depends on the type of engagement that you want to have.
People are more and more, they're realizing the power of the internet and the power of social media, and getting their bricks and mortar business online is becoming part of the strategy of growth. But I mean, like, there are still people out there that are hanging on and not realizing like you're going to miss the boat, or the boat's here, like hop on.
I don't know how after this year you could not see the value in having, maybe not even digital, but having different ways of making money, right? Like you need to have different streams, different sources, because I think this year illustrated more so than any other year that like anything could happen. Literally anything could happen. And you kind of need to be able to be flexible. You also need to have ways to like make it from that moment of crisis through like hopefully 3 or 6 months, 8 months, like who knows how long this will go on for, right? So you need to be able to flex and pivot and have different like levers that you can pull in your business. And I think it's important. Everyone should be thinking about how they can be on, like how they can have something in digital, maybe a physical product that they could sell, like lots of different things that you should be thinking of, because I'm sure there are many people who thought they had a very secure job or something that they never considered it going away. And then in 2020, it was like, oh, it wasn't as secure as I thought, or, you know, anything could happen. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I was definitely one of those people that, you know, I was at a position that I was like, yeah, this is great. I was crushing my bonuses, hitting my numbers and, you know, getting paid well. And then 2020, I was just like, it just all went up in smoke. You know what I mean? So yeah, having a digital or a digital job or like even a side gig is online is always a good move, especially now. I think that is the main push. And I think more and more people, like I've had so many calls and so many people asking me, hey, Greg, how can I? So I think people, for the most part, have woken up to it. And hopefully more and more traditional businesses will see the benefits behind like people like yourself that can help them get online and get on social and set up a good social presence to reach out and get like either their customers that are getting online or a new kind of customer. Yeah, digital is like, obviously I love digital.
I know.
So yeah, is it just Facebook or is it like all aspects of social, like is it just Instagram?
Well, I specialize in Instagram.
So Instagram, like I'm on Instagram, my Toasted Soul, obviously Toasted Soul Live. I couldn't get Toasted Soul Live, and then my personal Instagram account. My personal is like, it's private, but my business account, which is Speak Geek, that's open, and then it's not very. I only have like one picture on that one, but I'm trying to get better at the Toasted Soul posting with that. It's just, you know what it was? I was trying to find like what to post.
Yeah.
I can't really explain to you. I'm like, it's like I look at stuff, I'm like, should this be part of the Toasted Soul vibe? Like, will this work? And it's like I'm just picking and choosing. But now it's like I realized I think I'm finding my groove and what I can post, and like the meaning of like everything behind what is Toasted Soul.
Yeah, I think that's key. Like you have to know who you're speaking to, and I think that's the main thing, that when I'm talking to business owners, it's like a lot of times there is what you want to post or what you think might be interesting, and then there is what will actually attract the right people to you.
Right.
And so you have to kind of have a clear picture of what that looks like for your business. And a lot of times, unless you are sometimes it works, like where you as a business owner are also your target market, but sometimes you aren't your target market. So you need to be able to kind of tap into that vibe, tap into that voice, and kind of meet those people and be really appealing to them.
Yeah. So how would you find that? Like, how would I figure that out as a...
Well, you as a business owner, you need to be clear about that. So like that is something that I do work with people on, like just kind of discovering like who your target market is. And that is something as a business owner, just generally, like you'll want to know that.
Yeah.
And then it's just kind of it's market research. It is developing a really clear persona and kind of taking it from there. So you're really kind of getting it more into the weeds, probably way more research than what people like normally do when you're just kind of setting up a personal account. When you're doing it for business, it's a bit different. And then you kind of want to be able to get to a point where, like, if you look at a lot of other media, let's say media accounts, they've got it so that they know like what memes to post, what will really resonate with their audiences. Like it's just, like you just know your person so well that you can speak directly to them.
Yeah. It wasn't until I started my Toasted Soul podcast that I realized about like really so much meat and bones and things with Instagram. There's like so much. It's like, you think like, oh, me just post a picture, but there's so much to it, and like so many small little things, like the hashtags where you should put this, how all this stuff that just comes together, because the influencers and people like you guys make it look so easy, like, oh, I just post a picture and people will come to it, you know what I mean? But it's a lot more intricate than that. And like anyone that has a business or anyone that's wanting to use like Instagram should definitely come to you specifically because it's not just posting a picture. It's there's a lot more to it than that. There's a lot of like thought and process that goes behind it.
Absolutely. It's a bit of it's like an art and a science. So like a lot of it is you absolutely can post something and to see what happens, right? Because that is kind of like the scientific method. You kind of say, I'm going to post this and see if people respond or how people respond. That is definitely part of it. But then there is the marketing aspect. There is the fact that like it's owned by Facebook. Facebook is out here to make money. So they want you to use their platforms in certain ways. And if you can use it in their ideal way, you can also kind of tap into the algorithm. You can tap into, the different tools that they're kind of pushing and become more highly favored in their view, so that they promote you and show you to more people. That's the game for them. They want to make it so that you pay to advertise with them. And so they want you to use it in a certain way. And if you can kind of tap into that or mimic that, even like in an organic sense, as opposed to paid sense, you can meet with some success. So if you're doing it for your personal account, absolutely go for it. Like just go there, experiment, have fun. But if you're doing it for business, there are some things that I recommend for people to do, or that, like other, strategists might say for you to do, that will kind of tip the needle and make you come across more professionally, or like as an actual Instagram for business.
Right. Yeah. And speaking of professional, I always talk to businesses about being more professional and at least looking more professional, because then they'll attract their customers, right? Like if you go on this look in a certain way, people are they're gonna look at you and it's like, and move on to the next guy. So that professionalism, when you say that, it really resonates. Like it's something that I always tell small businesses to try to aspire to do. So you said you were doing a lot of traveling. I remember seeing your Instagram stuff. I'm like, oh, I wish. How was that?
Well, it was good. I'm actually, I guess looking back on it, I'm really happy that last year happened, because obviously this year is what it is. But yeah, it was really, I always travel a lot. So, but last year I lived in Colombia for 4 months. And then I went to Curacao. I was in Mexico City. I lived in California for a bit. So like literally, it's just a good job that I was traveling last year, because not only COVID, but also the forest fires, like a lot of the places that I would have thought to go to don't even exist as a place to travel to anymore. So yeah, but it was just really an interesting time. I know I don't speak Spanish yet, but I did have a good time last year. So I mean, you can ask me anything about any of those places.
Yeah. So, I think we have a mutual friend that was on the podcast that was in Colombia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Allison. Yes.
Yeah. Did you guys meet up down there?
Yes, we actually. She was part of my decision-making process. So I had visited her in Colombia before when she first moved there, and then I was trying to decide last year. I knew that I was just going to completely bypass winter and just live abroad, because I did have a remote job at that time. And so I was just like, where should I go? And I was thinking Mexico. And then she kind of was like, oh, just come to Cali. And I was like, okay, fine. So I went to Cali and I lived there. Cali's an interesting city. I know she loves it. I had mixed feelings, especially the first time. She's a Spanish speaker. I don't speak Spanish. So it's an interesting place to go to, because especially back like the first time I went, they really were not a place that had a lot of like tourists.
Yeah. So
it's different than going to like Cancun, where people are like cerveza, and they like, or like they will like be more accepting of your very, very small attempts at Spanish. There, if you don't speak Spanish, then good luck, right? Like people don't speak English, so you just have to try and make your way through. And especially back then, it also, I think I threw them off because I'm this dark-skinned Black girl who did not speak Spanish at all. And they were just like, I don't know why this dark-skinned Black girl don't know how to speak Spanish. Is she dumb? Like, does she have some sort of special need? It was very much a culture shock being there, because it was just like, they also were not like Toronto. Like, I know in Toronto, I help people around all the time. So like, people are like, oh, where's the CN Tower? And I'm like, it's right there, that tall building there. Like, you know what? I'll walk you down there. But in Cali at that time, I didn't find that people were very friendly. So also because I didn't speak the language, but they were just very much like, you don't know how to speak Spanish? I guess we don't know how to communicate. Like, I guess they just were not, it was like a small city kind of vibe. They're just like, I don't know, we don't get visitors much. But the second time around, and I guess with the mindset of living there for an extended period, I kind of got settled in, and I had my places that I visited, like on the regular. And I, had committed to kind of learning Spanish. So I did learn quite a bit while I was there. And I had my, my regular people that I ran into who were patient with me, even though I didn't really know Spanish. And so it was just an interesting vibe. It's just a smaller city. So of the places that I visited, I went to Cali, Cartagena, Bogota. What's the other one? Medellin. And Cali probably feels the smallest. And so that comes like its own set of quirks, I guess.
Yeah. Like small town, definitely, right?
Smaller town, right? And like, smaller town. Medellin is big. You tend to meet a lot of expats. You tend to they're kind of set up as a digital nomad hub. So it's easy for you to like get plugged in to like a co-op or co-working space, and then, kind of like meet other people who are kind of maybe more like you. But that doesn't necessarily lend itself to speaking or learning Spanish. So it just kind of depends on what you want. Whereas Cali was definitely still much more like, oh, you don't know Spanish? I guess we can't talk.
I remember I was trying to learn, not Spanish, I was trying to learn French. I was going to try to learn French and then Spanish. I heard that's the best way to go. And I did, I was using an app, right? And I did it straight for 45 days. And it just wasn't sinking in. At first, it felt like I was getting it, but then something happened in the app and I was just like, forget it. And then I'm like, well, at least I know this stuff. But then I have a friend that she speaks French from France, Quebecois, and Creole. So she's really and Spanish. But she knows her stuff. And I tried to speak to her, just didn't work out.
It's a different part of your brain. I think before I left for Colombia, or I guess last year, I had been doing the apps, and I also was actually doing like I had to tutor, but like actually speaking it, I think that's just the hardest part. It's the hardest part. It doesn't matter how you're attempting to learn a language. It's like, you just have to speak it. And that is definitely the hardest part. So it's like, you can have all those words, but until you start to try and draw for them and then say them in the order that that local person will understand it. and then you're like rebuffed because they're like, I don't know what you're saying. They're looking at you like, what?
You know what I find? I find it's like it's when they speak, like when my friend speaks either Spanish or French, sometimes the words and the phrases are like, I understand them, but she has to slow it down for me to actually hear what she said, right? And then I'm like, oh, that's what you mean. I know that.
Yeah.
But if they're just speaking like regular
quick,
I'm like,
the Colombian accent is extremely fast, right? And it's like, it's a very pleasant one to my ear. I like the way it sounds. And my tutor lived in Venezuela, so they have a similar sort of sound. But I would say that it's very fast, and it took me a long time to even be able to start to pick out the words when people were speaking to me, because obviously they're not speaking like perfectly or clearly. And it just sounded, honestly, for like the first little while, it just sounded like, right? But and so like, there's not even any way to pick it apart. You're using almost 100% context clues, and hoping for the best. Like, I'm not a fussy eater, so a lot of times that was where I was having most of my conversations was in restaurants. And so for the most part, I'll eat anything. So it wasn't really like I'm going to get something that I don't want. But sometimes I'd just be like, I don't know what you said. Like, I just don't know. And then I'd just be like, it's okay. Like, I'd be like, see, and then and hope for the best, you know? Yeah. But I would say that, again, it is like learning the language. It's really like, you just have to go there. And I actually, when I was in Curacao, I met a man who spoke, I guess it was maybe 4 or 5 languages. And he was saying that the main issue with people in North America is that we because it's like, I guess we kind of put it on this pedestal. Learning different languages is something that you don't have to do it because you speak the language that everyone wants to speak, English. And there's not a lot of times where it's necessary. So you just don't do it. And then you kind of form this feeling like you can't start from scratch. You cannot be a baby about it. You cannot learn like a little kid, but like ultimately, like, you are going to have to put yourself in a position to be extremely vulnerable, extremely, like, you're just not going to know. And so for like a person like him, he was from Europe. He's like, it's easier for us to learn languages because it's just there. Different countries that speak different languages. And you just kind of learn to be okay with messing up. You learn to be okay with having to start from the beginning, not knowing the words, and you just don't feel as foolish about it. And I think that's the main thing, is people want to be able to speak right away and not feel like, oh, I'm messing this up. But there is no way around it. You will mess it up. You're going to sound like a goofball, and you just have to be okay with it. So
yeah, I think for that kind of situation where he's in Europe, I think the immersion, like being in the language. So like, say, for instance, if you stayed longer in Cali, you'd eventually pick it up because you have to, it's like a survival kicks in, right? Like human nature is to survive. So it's like, to survive, you need to learn the language. So your brain just clicks over to that survival mode and that ultra learning mode, and you'll pick it up.
Hey guys, at this section I had to delete part of the audio. The internet connection was in and out, so the audio didn't come in very clearly.
No, I was saying that I would say for sure, while I was there, I was picking it up and learning really fast, but also too, I ended up spending a lot of time with expats. So it's like, you still have to be deliberate. So I would say, yes, survival mode will kick in, but if you want to learn the language, you have to kind of also commit to like learning it, because you can absolutely get by with just enough Spanish to order your meal, get on the bus, or get in it wasn't Uber there, but get in your Uber or your Lyft, and that would be enough. And you might not learn anything more. What people say, and it's kind of true, it's like, if you want to learn a language, the easiest and best way is to find a partner in that language. Because that's when you are going to push yourself to speak and learn and be speaking about things that are more than just the very surface level of things. And I think that's even the issue with the apps. It's like with apps, they're teaching you like kind of like out of context things or things that you might not say.
Yeah.
And in real life, you're just like, oh, I need to know how to, like, I actually do need to know how to, like, is this too spicy, or is this too, like, you just start to learn the things that you actually need to to have a conversation with somebody.
Yeah, that's exactly what I found with the apps is like, well, I'll never say this. Like, why don't we have like a conversation, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, because like, how you speak in your own language. So when they say, I can't think of anything right now, when they say a certain thing that it's like, I'm like, 40 years old or whatever, and I've never, ever said this sentence. So it's likely that I'm never going to use this sentence. So why am I learning it?
Yeah.
It seems like a waste of time. It should be, I think those apps should focus on, like you said, like situations where you're sitting in a restaurant because it's like you want to talk to the waiter or the waitress and you want to order something. Like conversations that we typically use, it's all the same everywhere we go. Like I want to get on a train or I want to get on a bus or I want to get a taxi, things like that, right? Like I remember when I was trying to learn Spanish at first, I remember the one thing I learned was "Où est la bibliothèque?" Right? And I'm like, I've never.
Well, that's French. That's French.
Huh?
That's French. Où est? That's French. Où est la bibliothèque? ¿Dónde está? ¿Dónde está would be
okay,
Spanish.
so I'm all over the place.
See, I got. That was actually when I was away. That was actually a really hard thing. Is that in my mind? I mean, I've been learning French since I was since grade 3. So sometimes I would be looking for a foreign word. Like I would be in Colombia or in Mexico, and I'd be like, I want to say this thing, and my mind would be like searching, and then just spit out the French word because I know the French word. And if I didn't know the Spanish word, that's what would come up, and it's like, damn it.
Well, that's the only. Now I know it's French, but yeah, and then it's like "c'est là-bas," right? That's all I knew. Yeah. It stuck, but it didn't stick into the right file. It didn't stick. So you said something about remote working again. So you do a lot. Is it that you do a lot of remote working now? Or?
Yeah, that's what I do. So last year I was working for a company that was doing like remote educational learning, and so I was just helping with digital projects with them, and then that was kind of why I started my own business. Like I was kind of, I don't know, I guess I was a glorified remote employee and I wanted to do something for myself. So I had a moment, life offered me a moment to regroup, and then I was just like, oh, maybe I can start my own thing. And so that was kind of how that happened. But I've been working remotely since before COVID made it like cute.
So what's your company called?
Imani Digital. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like remote, like we said before, remote COVID has basically turned everyone into, or not turned, but makes everyone now want to be into the remote, business, just for like job security and just for any kind of work right now. I think a lot of people are looking into that. Yeah. Did you find it hard switching from the 9 to 5 at the office over to remote?
I think people ask me this when I think about what was most challenging, especially that first year. It wasn't so much the 9 to 5. I don't think I've ever really worked I've worked 9 to 5 jobs, but I don't know that any of those jobs are 9 to 5. I think the main things that I missed about working like traditionally was that I missed like having like proper coworkers. I missed I guess people would call me an extrovert. So I missed physically connecting with people. I think that was the thing that I missed the most and continue to miss the most. And that has probably been the hardest thing about even this year, is just like actually like being like, let's go for a coffee, or like, let's break up this day by walking here or doing this thing together. So I think that was the hardest part. It was just like having my coworkers be people who lived internationally and that I did not know personally. That was probably the hardest part. And then as people have probably discovered this year, it was like also just having proper boundaries. So like you could legitimately start your day. I tend to start quite early and then just keep working, and you will burn out if you do it like that. So you kind of have to be like diligent about like recreating the boundaries that you would have had, at least for myself, like the boundaries that you would have had if you were going to an office, for me. So like for myself, what I hated about working, like remote working during COVID, and I would say that most people are not getting the best experience of it. Like, I feel like this is like a horrible facsimile of what I experienced last year. But like, I tended to go to co-working spaces because I didn't actually like working out of my home or here, like my room. I prefer that feeling of like going to a place, having a small commute, and then like having a commute home and being able to kind of like mentally clear myself of the day. And then when I get home, I know that like work is done. You have to kind of create those things for yourself, at least for myself. I have to kind of create those markers for myself in my own business, because if not, you just tend to like, the schedule just goes all haywire. You work, you know, like you wake up and you work, you might not remember to take a walk, you might not remember to eat, you might not remember, your day just becomes like out of control.
Yeah.
One long day. And especially now, because it's not like in the past, I might've been like, you want to go for a coffee? Now I'm like, I don't know if I want to go for this coffee. Is this coffee worth it? Like, am I exposing my family to the risk? So I'm like, I just make the coffee at home. It's fine.
Exactly. That's what it's come down to. It's like rolling a dice for a coffee. It's like, all right, let me see, you know?
Yeah.
Is it worth it today to gamble?
Yeah. So I would say like, yeah, those were some of the hard things. Some of the beautiful things was that I was able to like, again, like live in Colombia, learning Spanish in my spare time. So, you know, the idea of working from anywhere. Last year, like missing out on winter was like a dream come true. I just loved not having to shovel snow. I loved not having to traipse through like dirty snow. I don't love snow.
Well, I think this winter is going to be really bad. That's what everybody keeps telling me.
Yeah, well, I guess we deserve it, right? Because this year hasn't been hard enough as it is.
We're going through the test right now, going through the fire, which is crazy. Yeah. I remember when we did Toasted Soul, like back in 2007, and you and I were like, we sat on that couch. You don't remember?
Okay, so here's the thing. This is because Greg and I talked about this before. Like, I have very different memories of this. I do not remember taping anything. I do remember like riding in the elevator with Kemba and Yolanda. I don't remember.
I'm going to have to send you that pilot.
You're going to have to send me the pilot because I just don't remember it. It's just like not a memory that I have, but I do remember being there. Like I remember it as a thing. I don't remember doing it, taping it. I remember like we had to, like if I talk about it more, maybe I'll remember, but like I remember like you had to like fashion some sort of light.
Yeah, because we were shooting and then we were losing the daylight. Right. So then I had to rush to Home Hardware to buy lights.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I know what happened. I just don't have like a very like vivid memory of it.
So I bring that up because I mean, like, I remember I was super nervous. Like I even feel nervous now, but I remember I was super nervous and I was just totally faking it to make it. Yeah. But I remember you were like just so good at it. I was like, oh my gosh, she's like so awesome at this, right? And so I'm like, is podcasting or like video blogging, would that be something that you'd be getting into, or have you gotten into, or are you planning to get into? I just think you have the personality.
Okay, so Greg, you are not alone. You are not alone in this thought. It's just for me, I always wonder about having something to say. And maybe it's just me being old school. I know people go online and they don't have anything to say. And that is more than enough to make it in this world these days. But for me, I just feel like I don't have that much to say. Like I have things to say.
No, you do. You definitely do. Because even right now, most of the talking, I don't know if you realize it, it's coming from you. Because I'm like setting you up and you explain all kinds of stuff. So you're doing most of the talking. I think even like, you're doing all that remote working and all that digital work. A lot of people want to hear about that right now. Even like a 5-minute vlog.
I know. And like when I was away, this was something on my heart to do, but I just had like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. If you know what it is like if someone wants to follow me around, film me, edit all this stuff after, sure. I've started podcasts.
I think there's a law. I think that's illegal. It's called stalking.
That's somebody that I know and have approved of following me around. I mean, I know I should do it. I know it's something I should probably do, but it's just one of those things where I'm just like, I don't know if what I have to say is all that important, or like, I don't really want to add to the noise. So I know people don't have an issue. Many people do not have an issue with adding to the noise, but I always just feel like,
But I mean, what I've been saying too is since all this crazy upheaval in 2020, it's like this. People want to hear more Black stories, right?
Absolutely.
So I always push Black people. I'm like, hey, go out there and create something. And if not, if it doesn't take off or whatever the case is, at least it's an experience, and that's what life is about, right?
Yeah.
So, like your personality, I've always thought it would be like a movie star kind of personality. Like you can get out there, you can talk, you have a great smile, and you're very personable. And like you said, you're an extrovert. So that is what I consider myself an introvert. Most people don't, I guess, but I do. But you are definitely opposite than me, and I think that you have the personality to do it.
Well, thank you, Greg. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. And maybe one day I will figure out, I guess, what it is that I want to add to the world, but I have not figured it out yet. So here we are. But I'm happy to come on and talk to you about this stuff. So, like I've always been interested in like digital tech, I think, this is also another area where we kind of overlap. So perhaps, I will think of a way that I can bring something like that forth, because I do like to see Black people talking about that stuff. I think it's important. And again, like so many of the things, oftentimes, like this is a tangent, but oftentimes I wish that someone had said to me like long before, oh, you could do marketing as a career, because I felt like sometimes even as a Black person, you don't know, especially because our parents are the way that they are, tend to be like doctor, lawyer, engineer, business person. Like these are the things that you hear. And if you don't fit into those categories, you may not have known how to make money, or athlete, or I don't know, whatever else that people like gravitate towards. And I think like tech, digital, even before it was like popular, was always a great way for people with like skills to make money, like in actual like sustainable careers that are like legit, that are just as legitimate probably as like being a doctor. Maybe not as helpful, but definitely as legitimate as being like a doctor or a lawyer or anything like that. So I would say that like maybe if there's a way that I can think of some angle around tech or digital and Black folks, I will bring it to you. I will I will be back to talk about it.
For sure. And I think what that is like we always push people towards like school and taking a specific course, but I think a lot of people need that time where they travel and they learn what it is exactly that they want, but we're not given that opportunity, right? Because they're just like, no, you got to be a doctor or whatever the case is. You have to go to school. You have to be this specific thing. But what you find is like a lot of people, they get these shiny degrees and they're not working in that field, because either they come to realize it's like, yeah, I went to school for 4 or 5 years for this one thing, but it doesn't bring me joy. This brings me joy, and I didn't go to school for it, right? Or things like that. So
I mean, I think you have to experience some life sometimes too, in order to know what that looks like for you. One of my family doctors, he was a doctor. He was an Asian guy, Chinese guy, and he quit. Like he literally was like, I think I did it for my parents, and then I think he decided to become a farmer. Like something so like left, because it was just like for his whole life he just was like, I'm going to be this thing, and then when he got there he was just like, this sucks. So I'm going to do something completely. So like my parents can't say that I disgraced them. I'm just going to do something else. So I think sometimes you just have to live a little bit of life to know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like he's still a doctor.
Exactly. It's like his plan B is like be a doctor again. And for some of us, I guess that would be a great plan B. It'd be a great plan A.
Excellent plan A and plan B. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of digital opportunities. And the cool thing about our society today and about the internet is that you can make your own opportunities, right? A lot of this stuff that we like, who would ever think someone just taking a picture and posting it online would be a millionaire? Like some of these people on Instagram, you know what I mean? So the opportunities are out there. It's just, you just got to, like back in the day, dig for that gold, like, find it yourself. Yeah, it's like you just have to look at everything that's out there and then try to create something for yourself, something unique. be ahead of everybody else.
Or, well, and you know what I've learned in the last year is that you don't even have to be ahead of everybody else. I think one of the big things that people will find, especially now, I know a lot of people have kind of jumped on the bandwagon of working online. And so what you will find is that a lot of people are out here doing the exact same thing. And I think, in contrary to what I was just saying, is that you're your own person and you speak to your own, like you will resonate with different people. And so tends to be room for everybody. It's like, even if you are, there's a lot of social media managers, there's a lot of digital marketing strategists out there, but it's like, you have your own lane, you have your people, you bring your own experiences, you bring your own personality to things. So even as a lot more people kind of get into the space, there is still space and still room for everyone to kind of bring their own little flavor, have their own little angle, and still be a success. So yeah.
For sure. So I see you have headphones there. I'm going to assume that you have an iPhone, but the question, like I always ask my guests 3 questions, and one of those questions is based around tech. And the question would be, if I saw you on the street today, what tech would you have on you?
I was thinking about this, and I would say that for sure I have my iPhone. I have an 11 Pro, and I would also probably have my mask. That's not tech, but I have my mask. I sometimes might have my camera, which is a A6500 Sony camera, like a digital SLR. And I might have a Kindle, maybe, possibly. But yeah, I pack pretty light, especially these days.
Well, actually, that's more tech than most people have said so far.
Is it?
Yeah, people are just usually like, "Oh, I have my iPhone." Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. Well, I guess I'm special then. I thought that was light. I thought that was a little bit.
You're all checked out. So another question is, any kind of advice you could give young entrepreneurs or young females?
Young females. It's not really advice, but I would say just do what you want, honestly. Do what you want. Don't let anyone stop you. Don't let any circumstance stop you. It's hard out here. I would say that it is really hard to be a Black woman oftentimes. So if you feel like today you want to try this thing, go for it. If you feel like today you cannot and you're just about self-care, do that too. I just feel like you just need to make room for yourself. And also what I said earlier is just sometimes it just takes a bit longer. You need to experience a bit of life. I'm still trying to figure out what it is that I'm trying to do. And I'm in my 30s now. So be patient with yourself, give yourself time to explore and to figure out what it is that you like to do, but just do what you want. Like if people, I don't know, if I could do it over, I probably would have gotten teen pregnant and I would have made different choices. I'm like a no judgment. This is like a no judgment space. Like whatever it is, you can still make something of your life, do whatever it is that you want. That's horrible advice, but do what you want.
I like that actually. And I think do what you want is good advice, and that like do what you want as long as you're not hurting anyone, because this is your life. So you don't want to look back in 10, 20, at the end of your life, you don't want to look back and say, hey, I wish I could have, I should have, you know what I mean? You want to just say, I did this, I did that, and just be like lying on your deathbed with a smile because you did everything you wanted to do, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't know. Are we going to come back and get another chance? We don't know that. So just do it now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, again, with this year, not that I want to harp on COVID, for me, this year was very, very similar to last year, except just less inspiring, probably. Like you never would have known that this year would have turned out in this way, right? Like I had planned a completely different year and then life happened and it just ended up being what it is this year. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just hard to predict. So I guess the other advice might be to, find people that will support you in whatever it is that you are trying to do. Because you probably need a group of people that'll help you out to do what you want.
Teen pregnant. The third question is, what are they going to quote you out of context for when they come for you?
Whoa. Do what you want. Probably, I don't know. Maybe something I said about Donald Trump. I have no idea. I don't know. Oh no, I say things. That is the other thing. Actually, the other reason why I'm afraid to like put myself out there is I don't want to get canceled, yo. Because I have some spicy hot takes that are just for the group chat. But because I mean, like you, I was raised in a time when not everything was like forever, so you could just say what it is that you wanted to say and not have to, or take like, and not have it live forever for anyone to grab at any time. That's a hard one. I don't know if I have a good answer for that. Probably something I said about white people. I don't know.
That's why I'm thinking that, like, look, I've said a lot of stuff on the podcast so far, but I'm like, it doesn't matter, right? They're going to find something, whether it's something controversial or whatever, they will twist and turn it into what they need. So as long as you're not hurting anyone or spreading hate, just say whatever. Because if you say hi, they'll twist it somehow to say, you know, he was high. He said he was high. You know what I mean?
No, they're gonna come for me. They're gonna say that I glorified teen pregnancy. That's what's gonna happen right now.
That's exactly what's gonna happen. Spiking teen pregnancy was after Imani said this.
I'm just saying. Yeah, no, that's probably what it is. And I'm not saying that being a teen mom is easy. I'm just saying that when you get up there in age, it's also not easy. So
that's what it is. You can see it on the headline now. Spiking teen pregnancy was exactly the moment she said this. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So what else is going on with Imani? Like you sound like you have a lot of stuff going on.
Sounds like it, right? No, I mean that's pretty much it. In this year, there's not really much to have going on. I guess like I would say that it probably sounds better than it is, which is like that is life these days. It's like it sounds good for the gram, but you know, I'm still like relatively new to like having my own business. So there's a lot of stuff that maybe it's the marketer in me or like the journalist in like the broadcast journalist in me that makes it sound great when it's just like, nah, I have so many questions. I don't know what I'm doing.
But that's everyone. We're always learning, right? So
yeah. But I mean, I guess the one thing that was in your header that we did not talk about was relationships, and I would say that is probably the one thing that I'm like, I don't have one of those. And
I do not have one of those.
Huh?
How do you not have one of those, guys? I'm saying that because I know people don't like hearing that, but I know Imani, and she's an amazing woman. So it's like when I see these people, I'm always like, how do I? You know what I mean? I know things happen, and I know like it's a dumb question, but it's just like you see a beautiful person, you're like, you just know that they're taken because people just I'm just thinking people just gravitate and want to take them.
No, don't work so. But it's okay. I mean, I only raise it because I guess because of the way that the world is in 2019 or 2020. Sorry, I guess like I think a lot about like online dating and even just like how people connect in the world today. Like how do you even do that? Given the fact that you're not going into a job, you're not really walking down the street, you have a mask over your entire face, the other person has a mask over their entire face, like you don't see what they look like. It's hard to gauge what that is. And so yeah, I don't know. I just brought it up because it was like we talked about business, we talked about tech, we talked about all that other stuff. But yeah, relationships in 2020, that's been hard. Not that I'm actively searching, but just how to connect with people in this time, I think has just been an interesting experiment because it's just a very different world that you live in. We don't have to keep this part in. I would just. So
you don't use online apps or anything like that?
I don't know. again, I don't know that I'm actively looking at this stage, so I'm kind of busy. But I would say that in the past, being on there, and this is something that I did in pretty much every city that I stopped in last year, I would just turn on the apps just to see what was there in that area. And what I would say is that it's a very different time. Like I used to online date years ago, and it's just very different now. Like I would say that people are lazier about it.
Hey guys, at this section I had to delete part of the audio. The internet connection was in and out, so the audio didn't come in very clearly.
So, this was a great talk, and I think we should work together and probably have you on again. Like, I think your personality works. I think it's very broadcastable, or whatever the case is.
Thanks, Greg.
We're having some tech issues. We're gonna wrap right here, but I'd love to talk to you again. Have you back on, and even after the call, give you a call so we can talk about some of your like your remote working and things like that, and your current business. Could you plug your business again and the domain name, the website?
Sure. I am Imani Murrell. I'm a digital marketing consultant. You can find me at imanidigital.co or at Imani Digital on Instagram.
So I'll add all this stuff to Imani's bio. And Imani, thanks again for coming on, and it was a pleasure talking to you.
And that brings us to the end of another episode of Toasted Soul. Thank you for listening and supporting Toasted Soul. Visit us at toastedsoul.com to leave comments or book guest appearances and to get news on Toasted Soul. Please join us again next week. And as always, live with soul.